Yes, it's my favorite time of the year. It's the Inside Star Citizen Review Show. We have the fam over here in full effect, and we are back, ladies and gentlemen, with an episode that we've been long waiting for. Now, I said to many on the stream earlier today that they would have to knock the rust off of this machine because it's been sitting dormant for over a month. We knew coming back that I would get a little salty. I see right now, as one of my fans has let me know, that it is 8 minutes and 11 seconds. Now, let's just talk about something that's called common courtesy here. There are people that pay subscriptions. These subscription amounts for some are $10. These subscription amounts are $20 for some people every single month. We'll give them some leeway because it was Christmas. We'll give them some leeway because it was New Year's. It's the holiday season. But we are currently on the 23rd of January, and when we're coming back, we want to see something called #professional. And I have to say that even I, looking at this blank black screen behind me at 8 minutes and 11 seconds, am very disappointed. This was much more rust from the very get-go than I expected. So I want to tell everybody at Cloud Imperium that people are paying you for subscription. These subscription fees, this money, is being put in your sector to do something with this money, to show us that you care. And when we come back after a long hiatus and we see an 8 minute and 11 second video, some of us aren't happy, and for good reason. This is constructive criticism. And I want this to really land and hit home that the length of these got to hit the sweet spot. What's the sweet spot, family? What is the magical sweet spot for an Inside Star Citizen video? Those that have watched the ISCR for a long time here, we know what that sweet spot is. I'm just going to wait to see if the fam knows what that magical sweet spot is. Does anybody know in the family how shame in the family? I'm seeing no. Who are these people? Has my own family forgotten the sweet spot, the magical sweet spot? It's that 11 to 15 minute area. The Inside Star Citizen Review, when we're watching these things, we found out the formula after watching after a whole year that the sweet spot for a good, informative, party show is around the 11 to 15 minute mark. The longer it gets, sometimes it drags off. All right. Let's start it up here. I'm already disappointed. I'm sorry we're bringing it in this way in the new year, but we just have to be honest here. Let's be real. Okay, let's start it up and see what we got today.
It was William Shakespeare who wrote, "Do not swear by the moon, for she changes constantly." With the push towards completing the stand system in 2020 so artists can then move on to Pyro, the PU Environment Art team is facing one of the most daunting tasks to date, to go from...
I feel like Jared's very tired. Who else feels that? Like, I felt like this hiatus, I felt like this break was going to energize people. I wanted to see some energy. No offense, Jared. I know it's hard. I know, dude. I know it's hard. But people are paying a subscription. When you come back to this, I was hoping for some type of energy. I feel like Jared's kind of tired right now watching him.
From concept all the way to completion on MicroTech's 3 moons in only a single quarter, and all while using nascent technology and developing an advanced pipeline along the way. On today's show, we check in with Ian and Michelle for the beginning of their team's journeys. Check it out.
Okay, we're talking moons. We're talking new places. The moons are relatively simple in my mind to construct, to get out there. I think we'll see these moons on time. I always like the different feels that I get. But the moons themselves, so far, there has not been a moon. Aberdeen's cool. I dig Aberdeen. What's your guys' favorite moon? That's a good question I'm asking the family, and please list it in the comments below as you watch this video. I'm curious on what your favorite moon in the Stanton system is currently. I think I would have to say mine is Aberdeen. Ariel, and Effigy says Ariel. I like Aberdeen's lore. Ariel, we got 2 Ariels. Mm-hmm. All right, let's keep watching.
When I joined CIG like 3 years ago, actually it's the 15th, it's exactly 3 years ago. We just had our first planets procedurally generated, and Marco and Pascal were working on it, and there was this planet service, and everybody's super excited about that first step on the moon, basically. Looking at how fast we've been able to do moons back then versus how fast we can do it now, we've made such big steps.
So we want to see what possibilities we can do within our first quarter of this year. As we showed at CitizenCon end of last year.
Man, that looks so good. The pyro, man. I'm so looking forward to a new system. Oh my goodness. CitizenCon was really good. CitizenCon, one of the best CitizenCons ever, if you ask me.
As we showed that first sneak peek to what pyro could be. So as myself and as a team, we're all quite excited about starting that process. But before then, we want to close out these last 3 moons in Stanton. So that time is a factor because I'm getting pushed by my boss, Chris, to start on this new system.
Yeah, I will agree with that, Cypher. I'd rather see them take their time to do it right than rush into a blunder of a situation. Good comment. Cypher says, you can fault SIG for a lot of things, but I see that they are a studio that takes delay over crunch. And I would agree with that. And I think that's a pretty good comment, Cypher.
Biggest challenges for these moons, which is also an exciting one, is that out of the 3, 2 of them rely heavily on our ocean and frozen ocean, which of all the planetary bodies we've done so far, we've only used the ocean ones on Hurston and the frozen ocean ones on MicroTech.
So this process starts by first getting the briefing from Law. So a lot of the Stanton system was mapped out. So we checked that reference, and that gives us our starting point for what these moons are going to be about. This could be anything from key distinguishing landmarks to any kind of core gameplay requirements going in. And this is important because within an entire star system, we want the palette to be consistent. We don't want to be going from one moon or one planet to the next, kind of reinventing ourselves. We knew that we had a lot of
and personally, again, this is my own opinion, there needs to be a little bit more variation in the amount of assets on the moons. The moons, for the most part, start to feel the same as far as the trading posts, the companies that are on these moons. I would like a little bit more flavor from the assets department. Put down something a little more interesting as far as like a lore of a moon, for instance. You could put down like abandoned factories on Aberdeen, since it was a place once that was, filled lush, and then radioactive bombs carpet bombed it and made it unlivable. Perhaps put a little bit more assets. I think these things will be layered in to the game as we move forward. It's very early, of course, when it comes to the actual creations of each system, but I would like to see slight more variation. I want the moons to stand out a little bit more. The palette, as far as the colors, very cool as you go from the center of Stanton out, MicroTech being the farthest planet, and the moons that they're talking about orbiting around MicroTech, also very blue, white, cold. Love it. Interior hot, deserts, as you go outwards, colder and colder and colder. Very cool that they're keeping all this in mind. But I would like in the future a little bit more variation from assets on the moons to make these things, to make them a little bit more personable, so that each moon has its own personality. I just don't want to be like moon. What would remind me of like Elite Dangerous, where everything's very store-bought type thing.
Pre-established geology packs and biomes, and I kind of wanted to utilize V4 as almost like our first exploration grounds for taking the concept.
All right, Mom's juggling some knives. Welcome to the family, Glorious. Welcome to the family. Yes, that's my mother. She's perfectly sane, and so am I. Thank you, and welcome to the family.
Direction that we've already established, and give the team a little bit of creative freedom to see what they can do. So we didn't go too detailed with the concept, so it was a little bit of a blank canvas there. One of the key initiatives with V4 Tech is kind of empowering the artists to get quicker at doing the job, so they can focus on the quality and the quantity aspects. They don't necessarily need to worry about too much. So what we did do is I did some mood boards, and what this does is it makes sure Again, we're keeping within a certain palette. So these mood boards just reference, existing biomes or geology formations that we'd want to recreate. Chris is a very visual guy, so he likes to see it before any real production started, just to see if he's happy with the direction. Once Chris is
and I don't think this is implemented yet, but what we saw in regards to the humidity and the climate maps at CitizenCon was supposed to give the artists much more range in giving like broad swaths of color and actually give them color based upon the temperatures and the climates of the surface area. So it's interesting that I'm hearing this right now. Makes me feel like, perhaps the tech that we were, Planet Tech that we're looking forward to will vastly improve this process that we're currently hearing right now.
happy, and then we can kind of take it through to the next stage.
We're doing 3 moons in 1 quarter. I have a pretty good feeling about the success rate for it. We've thrown an additional challenge in the mix with making it very reliant on the ocean technology, and that will probably cause some additional struggle, but I feel quite confident that we can.
And who wants underwater? Who wants to go underwater? Who wants to break through the ice and go down into the depths of a frozen ocean? Who wants that? I do. Put it on there.
Can do it.
Now, from the tasks ahead to those just about to be completed, the Cutlass Red is making its long-awaited flight-ready debut in Alpha 381, and bringing with it not just a really stylish red paint job, but also new mechanics that aim to change the way we treat life and death in the persistent universe.
And we have been talking about this at length on the stream this morning. We talked about it. I will release a video either tomorrow or Saturday where we talked nearly 40 minutes on the death mechanic and how we wanted to harken back or listen to the initial narrative of Death of a Spaceman. I have a video on the channel for those people that were talking about this particular death mechanic because I flew around in the Cutlass Red, had a really good time with the ship. Go to the YouTube channel if you're curious about what I thought about the Cutlass Red. Go to the channel if you're curious about what it made me think of as far as the death mechanic. And then I'm going to get much deeper and release a highlight from today's stream earlier today where I talk about the death mechanic and how it brings about decisions and how it's an additional layer to the law system if done correctly. So keep tuned for that, fam.
Universe. So for that reason, we decided to take John, Michael, and Josh and stick them in a call together to discuss its development and see what happened. Take a look.
The outside's pretty much a reskin, except the top turret has a great spotlight on top that you can control via the co-pilot seat. It also has ambulance lights, which I never knew. One of my fans was like, dude, I saw you flying around having a good time in the Cutlass Red, but come on, DG, you didn't turn on the ambulance lights. And I was like, ooh, wait, what? Ambulance lights. And it is like an ambulance type vehicle. There's 2 beds inside, bringing about the importance of the support roles, the medic type gameplay. I think it's important.
So we're going to talk about the Cutlass Red today. We've got Michael the designer, Josh the artist. Straight off the bat, what does
Josh Coons actually did the redesign. Let's get back here. This is interesting to see. I'm glad he's still with Cloud Imperium. The guy on the monitor, Josh Coons, was responsible for taking the initial Cutlass Black and redesigning it to the thicker one, which I liked. I liked that they upgraded it to a medium fighter. It's still flawed in my opinion as far as the amount of damage it can take. It should take a bit more damage in my opinion. But it's cool to see that Josh is still there.
What does the Cutlass Red mean to you?
Kind of Drake's introduction into medical gameplay and just this very fun, exciting ship where players can kind of fly around, keep groups together, rescue other players.
It's my child and Star Citizen. The Black was the first ship I did from the beginning. So getting to finish the Red, I've been waiting a long time for this, and the Red is bringing a whole new element to Star.
Yeah, 4 loggable beds, 2 of which are the med beds, which is what I was referring to, Bo, but they're very good, dude. There are 4 loggable beds, 2 beds that are medical beds, which is what I meant by 2 beds. 2 medical beds in the inside. The video's on the channel. I talk about it in depth on the channel, and what I think about the interior rework, which I thought personally, just with the short synopsis here, was very masterfully done. It did feel like a different ship on the inside and the interior of the Cutlass Red.
Citizen.
It's the first rung on the ladder of the medical gameplay career, so it...
And I like to hear that. The first rung, this is the initial phase. It's going to be built upon. It's going to be revised. They're going to continue to look at it. That's why I'm talking about death mechanics right now. That's why I'm talking about Death of a Spaceman, to keep that initial concept going, because it's very important to the gameplay. And again, please stay tuned for the channel. I think I'll drop that on Saturday.
Adds a whole new set of gameplay options that no other ship in the game currently does.
So we wanted for the Cutlass Red, instead of the open slide, like a...
Yeah, and Killian's right. It should be a bit brighter on the inside. It is a Drake ship, so it has that pirate ER feel, but at the same time, it's also an ambulance. It should be a little bit more well lit in the interior, in my opinion. I think that's something they should work on as far as the lighting in the interior. Sometimes it's nice ambience, but for a utilitarian look at it, I would definitely pump up the light on the interior.
Salt doors is what I like to call them on the Cutlass Black. For this one, we needed more of like a protected environment. As the main cabin area is now a medical treatment facility, we have to secure the patients and the workers inside. The people. And
Boba's right. I think the reason why it doesn't look so sterile, Boba, is the lighting itself. If the lighting were brighter, it would give it that sterile look. Just the lighting enhancement in the interior of it, the brightening up of the space inside would give it more of a sterile look. Thank you. Hello, Mom. Mom's welcoming you to the family. Thank you, Mom, for twirling your knives and welcoming Architect. Thank you, and welcome to the family, dude.
People who are being treated in danger.
Drake can't afford lights. That's funny.
The other thing that people always ask
and
a
so
lot.
There's the interior. It has a kind of cool ambiance in the middle of the night if you're in an intensive care unit. Trust me, I lived in one for 5 months at the beginning of the year with Mom being in the hospital. And let me tell you what, kind of what it looked like at night. But during the day, or during the times where they actually needed the light was there. And by pumping up the light in the interior midsection of this cabin area, which was, by the way, the layout is designed very nicely. I think if they pumped up the light a little bit, it would give it a little bit more of a sterile feel. My opinion, maybe a light switch, maybe some type of a light switch to turn on and off a light in the cabin would be an added touch.
Is when can I get my flashy lights on a ship?
That was something I was very adamant about at the very start of this process, is that it had to have the kind of EMS light feel.
The Cutlass Red brings 2 new features into the Star Citizen universe. So let's talk about the first one, healing.
Healing yourself. If you're injured, you can just go inside the Cutlass, lay down on this bed. There will be a little prompt for you to heal. We have this really cool little scanner that goes through with a nice little toned lighting effect, kind of show that you're being healed.
And then the second is respawning, which you sort of access in a very similar way. You lie down on the bed, you set the medical beds to be your respawn point.
That was sweet. What's up, Donnie? Wait a second. That must not worked in the PTU, because I tried that and nothing worked. Oh, I've been flying it, but there's a couple things like the ambulance lights that the fans had told me that I wasn't aware of. So the ambulance lights on the outside were very cool, like an EMS feel. But I didn't notice that light on the bed. Did you guys check that out? Oh my God, why didn't I know this? Like I must not have known. Maybe it's because I was on 3.8.1 and it wasn't there at the time. On the 3.8.1e, are they working now? Because I want to try that out. That was very cool looking. Let me rewind that for a second there. That is bad. That is badass right there. That was really cool.
There'll be a little prompt for you to heal. We have this really cool.
There you see right there. There you go.
A little scanner that goes through with a nice little toned lighting effect.
Yeah.
Kind of show that you're being healed.
And then the second is respawning, which you sort of access in a very similar way. You lie down on the bed, you set the medical beds to be your respawn point. And then at that point, if you die and the ship is still in a relative vicinity, you can respawn back to the ship, which is a big feature. Okay, so we're just about out of time. Final thoughts on the Cutlass Red?
All right, so I talk about this ship, the Cutlass Red. I spent a lot of time with it as a Drake fan. big Drake design fan. And Josh Coons did a wonderful job of the rework. I from the very beginning, going from the initial concept of the Cutlass Drake Black, going to the Meteor medium fighter design. I liked it. And now with what we're seeing from the Cutlass Red and the interior, I do like what they did with the interior of it. I think this rule is going to be very important. I talk about it in length on a recent video that I did on the channel if you guys are curious about that. And those beds, dudes, those beds, that was pretty cool. This is, I'll tell you what, there's a little bit of Flash in here. The Flash kind of, the Flash made me a little excited. A lot of people were telling me, don't watch, DG. You're going to be upset. You're going to rant, blah, blah, blah. But I got to say, just seeing the beds there working the way that they were got me very excited. The
thing I'm looking forward to is heal players, kind of get them going a little bit better than we can right now.
I can't wait for players flying around with their lights and shining their searchlights in people's faces.
I think for me, it's just the extension of group play.
It doesn't feel like 8 minutes because you're watching it with me, Killian. Cypher says -1 rant. What's up? How you doing, Dash? Welcome to the stream, dude. So all in all, I have to say, it was just that little bit of Flash. It gave me like a lot of happiness right there to see that. And then, of course, having these spawn points, I talk about that in the most recent video on the channel. Talk about how spawn points are going to be very important, play a role when it comes to fleet battles. But we are going to focus a lot on the death mechanic. So I am focusing a lot on the initial concept or the origin story, the theorycraft work done with Death of a Spaceman done in 2013. We've talked about the death mechanic in the last video I did, and I will be releasing another video on Saturday from today's stream where we talked about it in length as well. Why I think it's important that Cloud Imperium stays to that concept, because decisions become more impactful. And also talk about how it can be an additional layer to the law system, because essentially people will think about their decisions more if in fact they die, and then they have to create a new character that they will off their assets to the next character that they create, which can be any type of family member that you want. This Death of a Spaceman is an old concept, but one that I think should not be wiped off the table. I would say that I don't think it's in danger of it, but I think that it's something that does need to be talked about within the community.
When you play as a group at the moment, as soon as one of you makes a mistake and dies, they're essentially out of the group for a long period of time whilst they get back, and this fills that gap in, and it just allows those groups to play on for longer.
So what did we learn this week?
He's bringing it
pressure
back.
Is on to
Jared's bringing it back in 2020. He's not letting go. What did we learn this week, guys?
MicroTech.
What did we learn this week? We learned that a little bit of Flash got DG out of his ramp mode. We learned that the bed Flash got DG out of his ramp mode.
X 3 moons in a single quarter. That the environment art team has the people.
Yes, so Donnie's saying a while back, CR did talk about cybernetic limbs and attachments as a result of death. That was something mentioned a long time ago. Probably still relevant, says Donnie. That's great to hear, dude. I did talk to somebody else at Cloud Imperium as well, who told me that that is not out of the equation, that they're still thinking about it. I hope that it is. I really think that it will be a better game if that type of philosophy is kept in, because people will seriously think about their decisions. It'll make PvE gameplay more fun. It'll make PvP gameplay more fun. And as a hardcore PvPer, people are looking at me and saying, wait a second, DG, how on earth do you think that's going to make it more fun if you can die at any instance and have to make another character? Well, I'll tell you why, because I love consequence. As a PvPer, I love consequence. I want to make sure that I am flying with the right people so that I have a lower probability of dying. I want to make sure that the people I'm flying with are smarter, more deadly, more effective, flying the correct ships. Battles become much more fun, much more intangible, because somebody might just run from the fight because they don't want to die. Somebody might abandon their post if they're working in a military or security organization. If you don't pay somebody enough, peace out. So you got to think about actually paying them, through the accountancy app. wallet-to-wallet transactions, making sure that you're paying those that are working for you good enough wages so that they're okay in dangerous situations. This is why I think Death of a Spaceman, this death mechanic initially thought out in 2013 is very important. More information on the channel, you can check it there. There's going to be more talks that I'm going to release on Saturday about this. It's a good time. It's an interesting time.
The process and the plan in place to get it done, and that while Drake may not care for ejection seats, they're still going to be the first out the door with ship healing and responding mechanics with the Cutlass Red. Yes, just when you think you have all the answers, Drake goes and changes the questions.
I think in the future, Eagle, that there should be a slight differences between the design, like not being able to use it maybe the exact same look, or that something gives you like a different kind of appearance. I don't know how that can be instituted, but I get where you're coming from there, Eagle. I think more so just the mechanic itself, even if the character were to look the same, that you would have to make another character would then make people think about their decisions going forward, whether they were in a PvP or PvE situation. You would wonder, hey, should I travel to the system? I mean, I'm in a situation where I'm a trader. Should I go here? Should I go into an unlawful section of space? I might have a pirate hit me. Maybe I'll just stick to the law sections of space so that I'm not dying. Maybe I won't even leave the planet and be a farmer. Maybe I'll just live planet side because I don't want to have to deal with the BS. Somebody gave me a great example on one of the videos that I had done regarding this, and they said, well, what if you get carpet bombed? Well, just make sure that you have a farm in an area that's very remote, and be smart about where you farm because consequence makes a game more immersive. And from the very get-go, I think a lot of us signed up because we wanted a game that was going to be different. We wanted a game that gave us a little bit more of a challenge. We didn't want our standard watered down game. We didn't want easy peasy mode. We all wanted something different from the very beginning. And I think that's why it's relevant we talk about this type of stuff right now.
Roddy Piper. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Roddy's favorite company would definitely be Drake. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And mine is too. I absolutely love Drake. Anyway, guys, have to say, it was a pleasant surprise. I really thought I was going to go off on this one. I hope you guys are pleasantly surprised as well. I knew that there was some rust that needed knocked off. It wasn't a very substantial episode. The length of it, you know, we could have had a little bit more length. That's what she said. Sorry. Been watching too much The Office lately. But anyhow, thank you. I want to give shouts out to Boba for the subscription, Killian for them bits. I want to thank Glorious Leader for the follow and Architect for the follow. Thank you so much. I had a wonderful time hanging with you. This will be out on the YouTube channel tonight. Make sure when it hits out there that you guys are commenting, liking, sharing, doing all that you can do to help us reboot Inside Star Citizen Review. And thank you for joining me tonight. I like it better when you rant, says Boba. Don't worry. You never know. I'm a rant enigma. You just never know. See you guys later.